Hello and welcome to another daily devotion while we're separated from one another, but staying connected every way we can each day. Today's topic this fourth week of Advent is God meeting us in the mess of our lives, the tough places, the low places, and the high places. In the places where we're just barely hanging on, that are thin in terms of our ability to hang on. And so how Jesus meets us face to face in those moments. So I smelled it before I saw it. We had just gotten done on a road trip. The kids were in the back seat. They were little, tiny, and it was a terrible smell coming from the back seat. I opened the van door, and somehow my daughter had pooped through her diaper, somehow came out her onesie, all over her legs, all over the car seat, all over the seat belt, all over her, just reeked. And I thought, and my wife said, "You've got this one." So, this isn't something a baby wipe or a wet wipe's going to cover. So I said, "Get the hose. You just hold her out there, and I'll hose her down, and I'm just going to put the car seat out on the lawn." Right? Sometimes we get ourselves into our own mess, um, and sometimes we're literally in deep poop, but sometimes it's figuratively. And sometimes it's through our own meddling. Sometimes it's through a gossip that we've spread that gets back to somebody. Or do you ever have this where you're talking about somebody and then you realize they're right behind you? And you thought, why did I say something that I would never have said to somebody's face? And think it was such a juicy thing that I had to share with somebody else that's going to cut them down. Or maybe it's, a white lie that kind of snowballs into a host of lies that gets us into all kinds of trouble. We get ourselves into messes. Maybe that's why the Bible calls us the sheep of God's flock. I mean, they're followers by nature. They follow each other in a dangerous situation. They got a herd mentality. They often stray away into danger. And frankly, they're pretty dumb animals, if you ask me, in terms of farm animals are concerned. But that's another story for another day. Sometimes we get ourselves in the messes over an addiction or over a bad relationship that we know we should get out of. It's not healthy, it's codependent, it's abusive, whatever it may be. But it's become so comfortable, it's become our norm. It's our crutch almost. And so we go so far afield from who we used to be to a place where we don't recognize ourselves anymore. And we don't like what we see. We're ashamed of who we've become. And we tell ourselves, there's no way God could love me after what I've done or who I am today. I wonder if that's what Moses thought after he was found out by a fellow Hebrew for killing an Egyptian slave master. I wonder if that's how Abraham felt after he lied to Pharaoh's court and watched his wife, not his sister, his wife, Sarah, taken into his harem, or how Judas might have felt after he had that bag of silver coins and they took him away to be tried, and then he heard that the sentence was going to be death. I wonder if each of those biblical characters that we know so well didn't, in their human moment, think, how did I ever screw this up so bad? And is there a way back? Philip Yancey, in his book, What's So Amazing About Grace, tells a story. I believe it's Yancey. It might have been John Orton. They talk about a girl from Michigan who grew up in a small town up by the west side of the state. up by Traverse City. She's got fell into the wrong crowd, started using and drugs, and she parents didn't approve of her new friends, her new dark gothic clothes, and they kept nagging her and telling her she couldn't see these people. And finally, the daughter said, "I've just had enough." They were just fighting back and forth. And she said, I'm leaving. She took $300 out of her bank, hopped on a bus for Detroit, thought she could find some way to make it big in the city and a new life, and get away from her folks. She was a junior in high school. Well, after a couple nights of staying in a hotel, she was out of money, out of food. Man pulled up in a car and said he'd help her. He knew a few people could get her work. She trusted him. And in no time, you know, going on dates with men became something far worse. She realized the man had set her up with a pimp. She didn't know what a pimp was. And as a child prostitute and then jacked up on drugs, 6 months later, after an overdose, she found herself in the ER. The nurse noted all the needle marks on her arm. Said, "Is there somebody you can call? There's been some guys hanging around here asking for you, but we think maybe you need some help." She hit rock bottom. And as she asked the nurse if she could use the phone, she called home. Hadn't spoken to her parents in 6 months. "Mom, Dad, it's me. I'm going to take the bus back home. I've been in a lot of trouble. If you want, I'll see you at the bus stop. But if you're not there, I understand. I'll just keep going. I'll try to go stay with Aunt Louise or maybe Grandpa or Grandma for a while. I'm sorry everything I put you through. You must hate me for what I've done, but I'd like to come home." And Yancey writes that much like the prodigal son, as the bus drew nearer, her palms started to sweat. She started to wonder if she'd just made a terrible mistake. She'd lost so much weight. She was barely recognizable. She had detoxed, but she was still an addict. And all these things kept running through her mind. I've just messed it up so badly. I don't deserve their love anymore. Like the prodigal, I don't even deserve to be called your son, right? And as she pulls up to the bus station, there's everybody in her neighborhood, all her friends, church folks and Sunday school teachers, her principal. And there at the front of the line signs saying, "Welcome home, honey," is her mom and dad. And as she stepped off the bus, they just smother her in their arms. "We've missed you. Welcome home. We thought you might be dead. We've been worried sick." That's why it's so striking to me in the prodigal that when the older brother says, "Why'd you welcome the son of yours back home?" He says, Your brother was dead, now he's alive. He was lost." It ends with lost, and now he's found. He had died to who God had made him to be. He'd lost his way. But it's never too late. No matter how far or how big the mess is, no matter how deep the pile is that we found ourselves in, the car seat or otherwise, it's never too late to come home. God's always waiting, always on the porch looking out for us, ready for the embrace, and frankly, always seeking us out, sending people in our lives and messages to pull us back. So this Advent season, when we talk about the love of God, may it be something deeper than just talk. May it be the reality There's nothing you or I could ever do that would keep this God from making the trip from heaven and earth out somewhere in a Bethlehem sky for you.